This is Dr. Joyce Knudsen from ImageMaker Inc. Media. I am so excited to have Patricia Fripp as my guest today, or Fripp as her friends call her. Welcome to the show, Patricia.
Hello, Dr. Joyce.
Hello. Fripp, it was in the early 90s that you came in to speak at a company I worked with called Yes, a Positive Network. I had the privilege of introducing you. After hearing you speak, I said to myself, this speaker is going far, and one day she'll be the president of the National Speakers Association. You were by far the best speaker I had ever heard. Do you realize the impact that you have on people all those years ago?
Not until you remind me.
You were so dynamic, and I remembered, my husband remembered almost every part of the speech. He gave me bits and pieces last night. So you definitely have an impact on everyone in your audience.
That is nice to know, because one of the key ideas that I share with my clients and audiences is we need to speak to be remembered and repeated. And if your husband can repeat a lot of what I said, it probably says more about your husband than it does about my speech, but that is absolutely wonderful.
Well, it was over 20 years ago. We were in Detroit, and
yes.
You came in, and I just remember Michael Jeffries, who was the head of the company, said, I want you to introduce the speaker. And I'll never forget, it was such a thrill for me all those years ago, and here we are on a radio show.
That is incredible. I had not remembered our history.
That's all right. Well, you definitely are a great speaker. At what point did you decide to begin to speak publicly for a career?
Well, in 1975, I had my own hairstyling salon and a product distribution business to hairstylists, and one of my friends said, you need the Dale Carnegie sales course. I loved that. I took the public speaking course, and then he said, well, you have to keep practicing, so join Toastmasters. So I started, as many people do, not knowing where this would take me. And from there, with my friends at the Dale Carnegie class, we started going to seminars and the big positive thinking, positive mental attitude rallies, heard about NSA, turned up at my first NSA convention in 1977. That's the National Speakers Association convention. And a couple of things happened. One, I realized that there could be another business after my hairstyling career, of which I was still really involved and loved and had a lot to do before I left that industry. And then I realized, one, this was a long-term goal, and then Mike Frank, he's a past president of the National Speakers Association, he put on big rallies where they would sell 2,000 tickets. And he discovered me at a small breakout session, booked me to speak to 2,000 people on the same program as Dr. Robert Schuller, the minister from Garden Grove. So that was the beginning. And from there, I just looked for every class, every seminar, every coach, every aspect, and one thing led to another. So that's the Reader's Digest version.
Well, definitely you went in and wanting to learn, and you learned. That's, I think, a lot of people go in and learn. They think they're learning, and they think it's done because they learned it, but you don't do that. You just keep going, and you suck it all in, everything that you learn. That's what I admire so much about what you've done. Can you give us a snapshot of your journey on becoming the expert on presentations that you are?
Well, the snapshot would be starting with going to NSA and watching the speakers, taking different seminars, and I was the first person who said, hey, I work with speech coaches. And little did I know when I started working with speech coaches from different backgrounds and disciplines that would lead to one day being more of a speech coach myself. And I'll give you an example of looking without what would be normal. I met a choreographer, and I said, do you know anything at all about speaking? And he said, no. I said, good. Sit and watch me deliver this 3-hour seminar and you tell me from your point of view, what could I do to improve? And he gave me one piece of advice. He said, you are doing a superb job using the width of the stage. You are not using enough with the depth of the stage.
Wow.
And by working with people who work on speech structure and scripting, and that's where I always start with people. Let's look at what is it you're going to say. Let's look at the structure. Let's look at how you have some of the initial scripting. And although I have learned, of course, about using the whole stage, that was an idea that I probably would not have got from anybody else. And Dr. Joyce, there are three ways that we improve. So one is to understand what your strengths are. Because a lot of what we might do, even if we don't consider ourselves public speakers, we communicate in our everyday lives. We give sales presentations. We run staff meetings. We have to report to our boss. So it's really outside the privacy of your own home. All speaking is public speaking. And we all have something, some aspect that we do well at. And it could just be, it is obvious you have a great grasp of your subject matter. It could be you have a wonderful presence standing in front of the boardroom. Whatever that is, and for you, it is natural. Therefore, you probably don't value as much as looking at someone else and say, oh, wow, he's so funny. Okay, she is so eloquent. And if you understand what you do well, you can learn to put a technique on what it is you're doing that's working. Then you can repeat it under stress, and you could teach someone else. Second,
great advice. Great
yes,
advice.
And very often with this, you need someone else to help identify what it is, because for you it's natural. Until you get more in tune with what works, what doesn't work, and you sit back and you watch a video, and it can be just informal. These days you can make it on your iPad or your phone. Listen to what you say. Then the second part is using the same focus to see what might you be doing that could be distracting from your message. Because here's a tweet, Dr. Joyce.
Yes.
Everything we do adds to or distracts from our message.
That's great.
And it could be fidgeting. It could be, for example, often I'll say to women speakers, would you like to make your hips look smaller? Which, of course, we all would. I say, look, your words are wonderful, your energy's great. However, your gestures, your hands, and your hips, the idea is you want to bring attention to your face, not below the belt.
Yes, that's right.
So it's just a matter, and if you don't know what to do with your hands, just put them together around your waistline. The idea is your gestures, your hand from your waist up. And you can hold a clicker if you've got a PowerPoint. You can use a note card that you don't need to look at. You can hold a pen. You can, if it's in a boardroom, you can gently put your fingers on the table and then let them do whatever they want to do. Just don't fidget and distract from your message.
Right.
And then the third way you improve, and this will be true with any discipline, you learn from somebody who knows more about the subject than you do.
Well, that makes perfect sense.
Yes. So know your strengths, know what distracts, and learn from someone who knows more than you do. It doesn't have to be the best speech coach or the most experienced speaker. It is someone who just knows more than you do. And I challenge all my audiences, all my clients, take your notes and teach somebody else what you think you just learned, because there is no greater way, and I'm sure you would agree with any skill you have or any knowledge, the way to reinforce it is to articulate it in a way that somebody else who didn't just have the seminar or the experience you had, so that they can at least get the high points.
I definitely feel our listeners should be listening really well to you about these 3 points, because they are really exactly what you need to do to understand the strengths, to all the things that you had said, and learn from somebody definitely who knows more, because they've been there. They're where you may want to be.
Yes.
So you want to learn from them. You say, Fripp, that I'm not a public speaker. Can you explain this?
No, I said if somebody listening in, or if I'm brought in to teach presentation skills in the company, they might say, well, I'm not a public speaker.
Okay.
Outside the privacy of your own home, all speaking is public speaking. If you go to a networking event, that's public speaking. If you meet the chief financial officer at the salad line at your company cafeteria and talk to him or her, that is public speaking. And what I encourage my corporate clients who don't think they are public speakers is to understand that you can say something to one of your leaders in the elevator, in the cafeteria, walking down the hall, at a company meeting, that can be memorable and can have long-term impact to your career. In fact, one regular client, one of the exercises is think of one of the most important people in your company, or it could be somebody on the board, someone that you know who they are. You might even have met them in a large gathering, but they actually don't know who you are. You've never shook hands and been formally introduced. Now imagine you're in the elevator, or you step into the elevator on the second floor, and that person is there, and you have till the 12th floor to make an impact. What do you say? Because I maintain it is better to have a formula or a phrase of something interesting you can say for those frequent, unexpected, unplanned, and very important, quick, short interactions. It's better to have something to say and not have the opportunity than have the opportunity and have nothing to say.
Well said, really well said. And thank you for clarifying that. I am not a public speaker. I sat through many dull presentations where people were actually falling asleep. And when you speak, you bring people to life with what I call the 3 E's: excitement, energy, and enthusiasm. Can you offer our listeners some hints as to how you do this?
Well, that's good. So let's start with excitement. As you know, if you are a professional speaker, or perhaps you're a corporate leader that's going to 16 branch offices, you are going to repeat the same message multiple times. And you have to deliver it as if this were the first time. There has to be an excitement for the message and a freshness. If you are not excited about your message, then the audience won't be. I remember back to when I was a men's hairstylist. I was a men's hairstylist when it was a new industry, and we were transforming the way people actually had their hair cut. And I would take someone who maybe, and you've seen it, they got the low part, they're trying to cover a bald spot. Anyway, what I do is really redo. And then I'd say, can you see how good you look? And then I would take him around to all my other stylists, of course, working on their clients, and say, did you see Dr. Smith when he came in? Doesn't he look fabulous? And I would take him around and show him off, because there is nothing like, wow, she's so excited about how I now look. They are more likely to, one, understand that their new look really is special. They are more likely to come back. And it builds their confidence that how you've changed them really is for the better.
Well, it's catchy. Excitement
Yes.
is catchy, too.
So although we are talking about speaking, then we are also talking about every other practice or job. If you are not excited about the new plans you're going to introduce at your staff meeting, how do you expect the staff to incorporate the changes, which are going to be slightly inconvenient, and they have to increase their learning curve if it's not presented well? Now, part of the skill, Joyce, is to not only be excited about your subject or your seminar or the change in your company, however you relate it, you have to present it in a way that is of interest to your audience and how they see your subject, the change, your topic is beneficial to them.
It's like people always want to know what is in it for me.
Exactly. So you might, and this is a focus, and if my 5 elements of taking a good presentation and make it great, or if you're an absolute novice speaker, what are the ingredients that have to go into it? 1, you have to have a simple structure, so you can remember what you're going to say, and so can the audience. 2, you need to start on a high and close on a high. Don't waffle around. A lot of my corporate clients, they're not bad at putting together presentations. They are subject matter experts. I have never met anyone, not a single one, who knows how to open and close with impact. And a lot of them, I do a lot of work with the biotech company. They're smart, brilliant people. What they always need help with, how do I open it and how do I close it? So you need to structure, open and close. You need to have good stories or examples. And these do not have to be 5-minute stories. And it's learning how to present information and speak visually. Then you need to have emotional connection, and this is how you make your subject of interest to the audience. You used you-focused questions, or you-focused conversation. So you don't say, I am going to talk about. You're going to say, in the next 20 minutes, you're going to learn how our new software is going to not only transform the way we do business, the life of all our clients. Can you imagine? Okay, so you see, you're finding ways to present your information with more U's, less I's, and then razor-sharp specificity. We are living in a world that are sloppy speakers, and we need to be clear, tight, and crisp in how we present and speak.
I think that a lot of people, I know that a lot of people could use your help, even those that are out there speaking, because rarely do I hear anybody give a good opening and close, enough to get my and other people's attention. So that alone is why you have made it so successfully, because it is just not possible. I myself have been to Toastmasters and national speakers and done speaking myself, but I can't speak like you. That's why I'm a consultant. I can't speak like you. But I've learned these very same elements are important when you're a consultant as you are when you're a speaker.
Oh, of course.
Yes.
As my brother Robert, who is an internationally acclaimed rock and roll guitarist, according to Rolling Stone magazine, the 42nd best guitarist in the history of the world, living or dead, excuse a proud sister. Anyway, he says, sister, the principles in any one discipline are exactly the same principles in any other discipline.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I actually learned from you all those years ago, that was 20 years ago, some things I've implemented into my consulting practice.
Good.
So I think a lot of people learn from you. You don't even realize the impact that you've had on people from all of your various, I'm sure, I can't imagine how many speeches you've given, but definitely you have given them. So on your website, you offer virtual training for developing and delivering speeches, having over 30 years of experience. You become their speech coach virtually. Tell us about that.
Yes. Well, as you probably know, the trend in recent years for busy companies is they want people to be able to get training 24/7 when it's convenient for them. So many companies have people in remote locations of different countries. And Fripp virtual training is highly interactive, learn at your own pace, very fun and engaging training with testing, tracking, and monitoring built in. So, for example, what you can do, and I would encourage all your listeners to just go to Fripp VT, as in virtual training, Fripp virtual training, or if you go to my website, Fripp, FRIPP.com, you can't miss it. It's one of the panels, and sign up for a 3-day free trial. Because we, of course, for years, we sell DVDs and CDs, and they are valuable. However, with the interactive Fripp virtual training, you are engaged. So it's not watching videos, although it is video recorded. I am delivering content, and then I'll say, let's see if you've been paying attention, and I ask you questions. Is it this, this, or this? So you are engaged. It's not a matter, I'll just put the CD on while I pack for a trip or put on my makeup. This, you have to be engaged because you answer the questions. And then at the end, you have more questions. And this is not designed to trick you. This is you are only asked questions on what you have just learned. And it is a way to reinforce it. So it's very engaging with all the handouts in the file vault. It really is the most cost-effective way to learn, because you can watch it on your phone or your iPad. You can utilize the 10 and 15 minutes on the bus waiting for the dentist. Very easy to incorporate in your everyday life and very cost-effective. So that's Fripp virtual training. Go check it out. Get a free trial. See if it works. If you like it, just hit join. And if you can imagine, you could have access to all the courses, which are 12 at the moment. We'll be adding more for the same investment. You can do that for a year for the same investment as talking to me on the phone for an hour.
Well, it's a wonderful service that you offer, and I'm going to encourage my listeners to take your 3-day training because it definitely answers to the 3 different types of learning. You've got visual, you've got audio, you've got kinesthetic. All of it is all the process of learning, and just about anyone who wants to learn will be able to learn a lot from you.
Thank you.
Patricia, it's been a pleasure, and thank you so much for being our guest today on ImageMaker Media.
Absolutely my pleasure, and thank you for reminding me of our rich history.
Yes.
And if I may give you one tweetable quote.
Yes.
And that is, all learning needs repetition and reinforcement.
Well, that's
hearing it, thinking you know it, is not the same as incorporating it into your everyday life.
Well, you know what? I have 750,000 followers on Twitter, and they're going to hear that from you.
Thank you, Dr. Joyce.
You're welcome. Thank you.